Welcome to AWANI with me, Nabila Khalida, and today we're diving into the Malaysia's rapidly evolving digital banking landscape. And it has been almost 2 years since the first digital bank, GXBank, went live, marking a major turning point in how Malaysians save, transact and also access credits. And to help us understand Malaysia's banking landscape right now and what it means for everyday Malaysian and also MSMEs, we have with us Casey, the CEO of GXBank, and also on the most right is Hildah Hamzah, the Deputy CEO and also COO of GXBank. Good morning. Thank you for joining me in the studio this morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, Nabila. Thanks for having us. It's so exciting to come here and share with your audience our journey so far.
Amazing. How are you?
We've been good, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. But to start off this discussion today, before we go deep into the discussion, like I mentioned earlier, has been almost 2 years since GXBank went live, marking a major turning point. But maybe from your perspective, we could start with Casey first. What are the key differences of a digital bank if we were to compare with traditional bank, or we call it as legacy banks as well?
I don't know whether the legacy banks will like both of us calling them legacy, but they do have legacy. That's, I think, the starting point of our difference. So digital bank, typically what we are is we will live only on your mobile app. We don't have branches, but we have 24/7 customer service through our app, and we actually also have a contact center. But because the fact that there is no physical presence, the advantage is that you will have lower operating cost, hence you will be able to bring down the cost of serving the customers and pass it on to the users. So that's the hypothesis. Now obviously, like we'll talk more about it as we go along, in the first couple of years that hypothesis is indeed proving correct.
And maybe from Hilda, from your perspective, what's the difference that you see about traditional bank and also digital bank?
I think it's about the journeys that each customer takes. So if you need to open an account, when you're with a digital bank, the experience is different. So you take out your phone and you just do what you need to do. If it's a more established institution, usually you go to the branch and you do whatever you need to do, you take a number. So I think the real difference is actually the customer's interaction with the bank. And I think that's the real differentiator when you take the lens of the customer, right? So I think that's at least for me, that's in my mind, that's the real difference.
And also easier access.
It's easier access, it's accessibility that comes with affordability, and then also, capitalizing on different generational needs. My mother still wants to go to the branch. My children doesn't understand what's a branch. So it's that as well, right? I think that would be like the real difference.
It's to cater to all generations.
Yes, to all generations, moving with time, using technology as the basis of actually accessibility and affordability of financial services, right? So yeah, that's, I think, the big difference.
Interesting. I want to ask this next question to Casey. You stepped into the role of CEO in June, if I'm not wrong, and since taking the helm, how has the journey been so far, be it operationally, strategically, and also even culturally, as you lead Malaysia's first fully digital bank? How has it been so far?
It's I think the most interesting, exciting thing I have done in my life. So I've been a retail banker all my life. And the good thing about taking over this new role is I have been with the bank from day one, literally before our first line of code was written. So I was prepared for it. In fact, people will, in fact, digital banks, right? We start with technology. You will really realize very quickly that tech is needed. Tech is a necessary condition, but what brings that tech, as Hilda was talking about customers, right? What brings the tech to the customers are actually your people. So you need to have a mission-driven team which believes in what the mission is, which is use tech, use AI, use data to serve our customers. The really inspiring part about our team is what makes me come to work excited every day is the fact that we have a core team which is all local Malaysians who want to make a difference, right? It's not just a commercial setup that they have joined and they want to just do that. They want to make a meaningful change in society, a real difference to all local people, and that mission, right, that's there in the heart. So it's very inspiring for somebody like me to lead that team. Then you feel inspired and responsible both at the same time, and you can see meaningful progress, which gives you confidence that, you know, finally we will succeed as a team. So it's the team actually, Nabila. So that's what really stands out. The fact that I've got this team around me who want to make a difference to the country, to all the people in the country, it means a lot.
The team is the most important thing when it comes to leading a ship, I would say. But as you step into the role, what are the surprises that you see that stood out in your senses, especially when it comes to customer behavior or regulatory expectations or opportunities that emerge from Malaysia's financial landscape as a whole?
So the surprising thing, and the one that both, you know, keeps me and Hilda up at night, is the fact that, so if you start with basics of banking, forget the technology and the mobile app, right? So banks you trust. You've been trusting for ages because you are actually giving your money and then transacting with the bank, right? So winning that trust is so very important now because, right, you know, we've got so many customers who have trusted us. Like, it's a good opportunity for me to tell you that we are almost 2 years old. We have more than 1.2 million customers. Almost half of them use us every day, which basically means there is trust. Now that means there is a lot of scaling which is required, which is essentially that we need to be able to ensure that their money is safe. We need to ensure when they transact with us, they have peace of mind. So that trust factor is something, right, that keeps us up at night and keeps us focused on, you know, what we want to do. And we get a lot of support from the regulator, because this is not possible without a regulator who understands how this thing will come into life. Have patience with us, continuously do dialogue so that we can improve. So the surprising, it's not a surprise, but managing that scaling and ensuring that we have the trust of the people is what, you know, essentially is the crux of it. The rest, obviously, right, is going to come through as we grow. Like, you know, one of the big things, right, that we are working on, and we'll talk about it, is how do you then use your data and your, you know, technology, right, to actually do what we are expected to do, which is give credit access. So essentially the scaling and the challenges around maintaining people trust on you will be, I think, the single biggest factor, right, what we watch for.
It's interesting because one of the things when it comes to digitization or transforming towards digitization is the trust that worries the users the most. But based on the report, GXBank reportedly onboarded Malaysians at record speed when the waitlist opened, and adoption of your savings and payments features has been strong. So Hilda, maybe you can share on what are some of the early insight you have gained so far throughout these 2 years, part of the 1.2 million users.
I think what's more interesting, so let's just take maybe where we started off. The intent for us to be there was to give accessibility and affordability to ensure inclusion. And when we built, we had that thought in mind, right? So what we did was we went out, we said, okay, we understand these are your pain points. What is very interesting now looking back 2 years is actually the fact that, one, like what Casey said, there's a lot of trust. And there's a lot of belief in what we are doing internally and externally. So I think for me the insight was, wow, we built something that people grew to trust, and there's no physical representation. The only physical representation we have is actually our debit card. Beyond that, we don't exist anywhere physically. So I think the trust is number one. I think the second thing, and we're happy to kind of speak about it as well, is that we went out with our flexi credit, and for me personally it was the insight that we did a survey after doing a lot of groundwork and growing our books. We did a survey, we asked Malaysians, why do you want to take a financing a loan with me? And what kind of surprised me, and the insights that I got, was that it is, while the tech matters, actually what really mattered to the fellow Malaysians, rakyat kita ni sebenarnya, is the fact that we gave them an opportunity to have a facility to which they never would have been able to get before. And that matters, because that's why we exist. So that's the insight we had. And I think for me personally, that was a very interesting insight. And these are the people that actually, and we have a lot of data, like what Casey said, right?
Yeah.
They've told us they are actually earning below 2,000 ringgit, and yet we gave them their first credit. And they are now able to move forward with a credit history which opens them, which open doors for them, opportunities for them, yang dulu tak ada. So I think that was a really important, at least for me personally, after working so hard. You see the 2 years is when we have been open to public, but actually the two of us have been slogging behind the scenes for 4 years. It took us 4 years to get here, and to look back now and say, okay, we did it. We set something out, we did it. It might not be all shiny or all glittery or all, you know, nice and technology fronting and everything else, but the reality is that you serve your purpose.
Yeah, it's a kind of feeling that can actually give back to the society.
You give it back, right? And that's why, like what Casey said, right? It's about the people. The technology enables you to achieve your purpose, and I think that's what, at least for me personally, the insight was very meaningful.
How has the feedback been so far? I mean, of course, the real feedback, of course, for the everyday Malaysians, especially the underserved and also unbanked and also young workers, the gig workers, the real feedback that you've heard so far that we want to share. Maybe terima kasih for actually creating GXBank. What can you share, Casey?
So you know, essentially continuing with what Hildah was mentioning. So when we launched our Flexi credit product, right, it was done by doing, you know, research on 4,000 people. So we more or less knew what we wanted to solve for. What users, customers told us at that time was, you know, when we need a lending product, we need it fast and nobody gives it fast. So it's not digital, it's not instant. They also told us that they struggle to prepay, they wanted to make payments, but generally there is a penal charge, because that's what the existing banks do. So when we rolled out our product, right, we gave super flexibility to our users. One is we can give you a loan. That's why most of our users are using it for emergency, right? We can give you a loan in 10 minutes. It's digital. You don't have to wait. You have the flexibility to take any amount and prepay us back, because we don't have any penal fees or nothing. And obviously, right, that's the reason that the product is really doing well. And so we went back, actually. So we went back to 19,000 of these users and asked them, and it's what they tell you is what, you know, Hildah was mentioning, right? It's so inspiring. They tell us that they love the product because it's digital and instant. They use it for emergencies and daily expenses, and they love the freedom of being able to prepay back the loan when they need it without any penalty. And a lot of them actually believe that, you know, by doing this, they're building their credit profile. So that's what they are telling us, right? And it's so inspiring for us, given the fact that, you know, what we thought about the product does is actually doing much more than what we thought it can do. So essentially, the flexibility and the freedom that the users have to express how they want to use the lending and how they want to prepay the bank is I think, the, you know, what you really take away, and that will then, you know, feed into how we want to serve them in the future. So that's what users are telling us, that they simply love the product and the flexibility.
But to achieve this kind of target and this kind of feedback, I believe, you know, took a village, of course, and long term of, you know, hard work. But to Hildah, as a CEO, you oversee the operational backbone of GXBank. What are the biggest challenges in scaling a fully digital bank? Well, at the same time, we have to maintain the security, the compliance, also customer trust at the same time.
I think the biggest challenge, to be very honest, so you're absolutely right. So the backbone of the bank is actually trying to manage 1.2 million customers digitally. That's the real challenge, right? And then first you have to, because we have 600,000 over daily engagements, the way we manage our operations, our payment rails, everything matters. The second thing is, of course, because we're digitally native, our ability to ensure security for each customer, their transactions and everything else, right? So the challenge always surrounds around, number one, ensuring that we have enough scale. Because 1.2 million people, our staff strength is only 400 people everywhere. and the operations team is not the biggest team. So you just imagine the scale that we need and the efficiency that we build. And the third thing is the use of technology. So for us, we use actually a lot of AI, but what we don't tell you is that it's actually under the hood. We use it a lot when it comes to managing things like our fraud. We use our chatbots, everything else. So it's not always visible, but especially when you run the bank, the backbone of the bank is actually, you know, behind a lot of AI, a lot of technology. So for me personally, ensuring that happens, and it's like clockwork, right? It's always about your infrastructure, your process, and your people coming together. That keeps me up at night because 1.2 million customers versus 400 people. If you do the maths, I don't think it's been heard of before, at least in this country. So yeah.
But besides GXBank, we have other 4 digital banks that have officially launched, in addition to traditional banks that you know, wrapping up their digital offerings. So Casey, how are you planning to sustain your growth in an increasingly competitive environment? What joint strategies are you deploying to stay ahead of this, you know, super fast and rapid growth of digital banking landscape?
Excellent question, Nabila. So let me try and take a stab at answering it my way, right? So obviously when Bank Negara gave the digital bank licenses, one thing was very clear, and we have actually stuck to it, right? So if you think about it, traditional banks and financial institutions serve a particular market. Our job is to find out segments of the market that they are not doing a good job with. And that's because of, obviously, right, the fact that they have legacy infrastructure, they have, you know, they have been operating for many, many years. So our core principle, like the way we explained, right, both on flexi credit as well as our onboarding, is to basically solve a foundational problem. Like, you know, people before we came along, you know, people used to struggle to open an account in 4 minutes, get a loan in 10 minutes. So that first bit is already done, which is, you know, you reimagine the experience, make it easy, take away friction, take away penal charges, make it easy for the user. That's done. The second bit is now going forward is essentially using data and tech and AI and all of that together in a human way to actually extend credit to these underserved segments, to people who are not getting credit, like the, you know, low income retail customer or the small micro merchant. So if you are able to do that, you will be able to find that segment which you are uniquely serving, and hence you really don't need to worry about competition, because you are competing essentially with yourself. As far as the other digital banks are concerned, I think most of them have native ecosystems, and generally speaking, the way we look at it, we don't look at them as competition. I think all of us can succeed. We just keep focused on our purpose, you know, with our heart, and we ensure that we do a good job. And we wish all the others, all the best, right? I think there is enough market, enough user pain points to solve for all of us to be successful.
But how do you plan to align GXBank with this wider national vision under the MADANI Economy for digital inclusion, particularly in building financial literacy, long-term financial resilience, and also access for these 2 segments that we mentioned earlier, the underserved, also unbanked, also MSMEs, because these 2 are the most important pillars when we talk about MADANI Economy.
Yeah, so I will start off and I will hand off to Hilda, right? So if you think about the first couple of years, because building a bank ground up is tough, right? We want to do all of it together, but it's very difficult to do it together. So we rolled out retail first, but actually, right, we are in the process of rolling out, in fact, we have rolled out micro merchants. So the micro merchants is where we see the highest potential impact on nation building. Because if you think about it, a micro merchant will employ some other people. So if you are able to do that segment well, so we already have, like, you know, for instance, and Hilda will talk more about it, we've already rolled out, but we're doing more, you know, we are doing sole proprietors, but we're doing formalized, like, you know, people with SSM. We see a large market there of real micro merchants who are maybe not even on SSM. We are on some other, you know, identities, right? Or who are, you know, with partners, right? Who are, you know, doing, you know, a lot of using wallets to transact, right, on their accounts. How do you expand your scope to get those who are on the fringes of formal micro merchants and give them credit is going to be, I think, the biggest contribution digital banks and finance can make on that segment, right? So we have a lot of plans, and why don't you share with Nabila our plans?
What more can be done? Yeah.
So I think let's just take a step back with the whole Madani intent. I think overall we believe that the digital bank serves a particular segment, and understand that the current government's emphasis on growing the MSME is paramount. It's also shown again in the last national budget. I think what for us, the digital bank, there are spectrums. So the MSME is this huge segment, right? And our competitors and the incumbent banks do very well in a lot of these segments. So what at least we would like to do is to target very specific underserved, unbanked segment that historically, for various reasons, are not able to access credit. So that's one. Second is to do it in a way that has meaning for them, not just for the bank, for them. And because we too are part of a big ecosystem, our ability to understand their needs is actually quite deep. So moving forward, we have kind of chosen a lane, to say. We've chosen a specific segment of the underserved and unserved, which are micro, which currently we do, as all technology companies do, we go by stages. So we do a bit and then we open up and we open up. And we have actually in the past 2 months or so opened up our micro to sole proprietors who have SSM registration.
Okay.
And we are learning from that. And progressively we will expand. So that actually, I believe, is very much in tune with the overall intent of the government to ensure, number one, sustainability. Because when you design based on the needs of the micro, you try as best as possible to make sure that they are financially sustainable. Second is the fact that historically, banks at least don't participate in that particular segment. So then we go back to the thought of inclusivity, which is, so when you put it together, I think for us, the bank are very excited. This would be, as Casey said, the real solve. Untuk Malaysia ni sebenarnya masalah dia dekat situ. It's not so much yang besar-besar ni, they're very good, and the banks and everyone else do a really good job.
Well.
For us, because we're new, because we're a bit more curious, kita pilih yang susah sikit. And if we get to solve this, I think it really goes well with the overall intent of the government in the Madani economy, as well as the overall long-term positioning of how you want to churn the business for the country, right? So I think that's at least what we think, and we're very excited. This is our next engine for the bank.
So this is also a new initiative for the second year anniversary?
Yes, correct.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, so we are actually going to go forward with what we call Jagoh Niaga. So just to share what our thinking was, because we have an understanding of these micros, actually financing is just the first part of it. The reality is that they need help and support across different parts of their business. So as a bank, and because we have infrastructure, we have ecosystem, we say, okay, why don't we create what we call a Jagoh Niaga? We make you champions, but it's beyond financing. I will connect you to different people, different service providers, different needs that you have, and try to couple it with my financing. And because we are part of a big ecosystem, we hope that eventually it's more meaningful than just taking a loan. So that's the genesis of kenapa kita nak buat Jagoh Niaga. But yes, we're launching it this week as part of our anniversary. As Casey said, the next wave is this. And we really hope that, you know, we can solve a lot of the country's pain points specifically for that segment.
Well, congratulations, and also happy anniversary to you guys, to GXBank as a whole. So to wrap up the whole conversation for today, perhaps your aspirations, Casey, and then follow up with Hildah's aspirations after 2 years after going live, please.
So the aspiration is actually to continue to do what we are doing, which is I have this way of putting it, saying we have to do what users love in a commercially feasible way using technology. So I don't think those principles need to change. In terms of a real aspiration where we want to be, I think we can do all of this if we also are ourselves financially self-sufficient. So one of the things GXBank is working towards is to get to break even in a couple of years, right? Then we can serve all of these segments even better, because if you are financially sound, you can take care of your users, right? So that would be the one that we are driving towards in the kind of medium term, Nabila.
Amazing. Hildah?
I have a very simple hope for the bank. I hope that we become top of mind, that we become a verb, you know. So I hope that as we grow, instead of saying, oh, you Google lah benda ni, you buat benda, you know, so I become a verb. So jadinya, you GX je lah benda ni.
Oh, amazing.
So that is my simple wish, that people think of us that way, instead of saying just, you know, oh, pakai digital bank.
Yeah, digital
no,
bank.
You GX it. Please GX to me. So that's my hope, at least in the next few years.
Digital bank also a mouthful to say.
Yeah.
Digital bank, digital.
So now we never thought we would say, Google it. Or we said, I mean, you know, whatever words that we use to actually describe. But now I just hope that we eventually, every year, people will say, oh, GX je dekat I. That would be the best.
So Nabila, I will take this actually, right? It's so inspiring to even see Hildah articulating that. Yeah. So if we really even aspire to be there, to become a verb, that is, you know, it will take us to a different stratosphere already. This million that we are talking about and all these numbers we spoke about is all a byproduct, right? If you have that aspiration with a willingness to serve the consumers from your heart.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. There was Kaushik KC, the CEO of GXBank, and also Hildah Hamzah, the Deputy CEO and also CEO of GXBank, discussing nation building in the digital age, a topic that sits at the intersection of finance and also inclusivity and technology at the same time. So thank you so much again for two of you for coming all the way to our studio discussing on this topic. And you can find this whole discussion on all of our social media platforms, and that includes Astro, AWANI.com. Thank you so much for watching.